Namaskaram. Welcome to Nirvikalpa Talks. Nirvikalpa Talks dwells deep into the artistic journey of artists and eminent personalities to know more about their artistic experience. We at Nirvikalpa are very happy to have with us the dancing duo Sri Srikanth and Srimati Aswathy Srikanth. They have been touring the whole world with their art and experience, and we at Nirvikalpa are very happy to have them with us today. Namaskaram Anna and Akka. Thank you so much for accepting to do this for Nirvikalpa Talks. Anna, you have been in this field for more than 3 decades, consistently teaching and performing. Can you tell us how you maintain a positive attitude towards dancing and teaching?
As I started, as you mentioned, 3 decades ago, it wasn't easy to start with because there were only a handful of male dancers so to say. And performing artists were fewer. And the awareness that a male can also learn this art form, perform, or make it a profession was very, very considered impossible. So it wasn't easy. And I started learning Bharatanatyam in Kumbakonam, a small town in south of Tamil Nadu, where the exposure is much less. Of course, Tamil Nadu, that Tanjore belt is rich in culture, art and culture, but exposure or performances you don't get to see often in that part of the world at that point of time. And I started my journey with the traditional Nattuvanar, called Pandanan Roshan Mukusundaram Pillai. And those days when I started, he was teaching me after the adavas and all that stuff. It was only like Alari Pujatiswaram, and then like all Naika based items, Andal, Manavi Jaikunara, Varnam, which is Naika based. And because I feel the lack of exposure, we learned what we learned and we didn't think of anything else. So it was, whatever the Guru says, we would just adhere to that and then like learn, practice and perform. That's it. And then I came to Chennai. I started learning from his disciple, Dr. Saraswati Sundareshan, under whom I had my first Arangetram. I'll explain why I say first Arangetram later. And later, after my graduation, I joined Dr. Padma Subramaniam. With her, I had my second, or first Bharatanatyam Arangetram. So, which is when I sort of realize, okay, like men should do, or male dancers should mostly stick to Nayaka based pieces or Bhakti based items and not so much of Nayaka items and all that. So getting performances was not so much easy those days because the exposure that we have with regard to social media or whatnot. Those days it was like just word of mouth. People would come and see your performance and then another person would refer, and then that's how you get performance. So you probably write a letter to a particular sabha and then get opportunities. And with regard to teaching, it was, I would say, more difficult because girls or the parents were sort of how do I say, that they had that inhibition to send their kids to a male teacher. That was still prevalent at that point of time. All that has changed, what I'm saying. This might sound very ancient, I'm not that old, but I'm saying that's the fact. It was quite tough to establish as a performer, also as a teacher. I would also say because I didn't have a parallel profession, I decided that I would do only this. It was difficult. Probably if I had a parallel profession, which is just a passion thing, maybe it wouldn't have mattered much to me, but it was not a bed of roses, definitely.
Akka, you have been an epitome of grace and beauty. Even though your mother is a dancer and has trained you, how much of practice did you put in your formative years? Can you enlighten us about that?
First of all, I never thought I would be a dancer, despite my mother being an established teacher and dance performer as well. So I wanted to do journalism. Dance was there, but the problem was my mother being a very strict teacher. There was always this conflict when your mother is teaching you and she's very strict and very often favors the students over your daughter. So the conflicts it'll be there. So until my high school, I was not serious about learning dance. But she was very keen that I learn music and dance. And when I was 7, she put me on stage for the first time, made sure I do my first few items in front of Guru Ayyappan as she wanted. And then I fell out of, so it was a love-hate relationship till high school. And only when I reached high school that I realized that, okay, if I dance, people do like it. So that's the point when you're in your 14, 15, you get that confidence. And then I started learning a little more seriously, would be regular in class. And then college, yes, I started performing with my mother's troupe. So she used to give me 1 or 2 pieces in each kacheri. So I started enjoying that. But again, it never struck that I would do this, seriously for a living rather. So I got admission for visual communication in MOP Vaishnav College. And I completed the admission procedures and everything. Dr. Susi Taru was the HOD, and then I went back. I was supposed to join after a few weeks, and then my mother she had a nervous breakdown at that point. So due to some issues in dance school and all that. So actually at that point I realized that she was running this whole thing on her own. And we had just constructed a new building for the school. It was, in 1990, we constructed our own building. So it was her dream that had come true. But at that point, there was nobody she could turn to. So then I realized that if I leave and come to Chennai, she would be in trouble. So then I decided I will give up this and then I'll continue my studies in Kerala. And then I took up the reins of the dance class. So then I was teaching a little bit, but then that time I just finished my graduation. I had to take care of everything, like classes, performances, everything. So then once you decide you're doing something, then I have to give my 100%. Then I decided that I have to hone my skills, be more serious. And it was at that time that my mother wrote to Srikanth and he came to Calicut to teach senior students, and she requested that he teach me also. So that's how my higher learning started. So before that, she had tried during my vacations to put me under some teachers in Chennai. We used to come for vacations. But the problem was, anywhere I went, I had to change my style, which was not easy for me, to unlearn everything that is set in the body. But with Srikanth, I didn't have that issue. It was just a couple of steps that I had to rework. So I was very comfortable. And then that serious journey began, actually. So he'll always say, "You started very late." Yeah, it is true. I started very late. But once I started learning from him, I was very consistent. And before my first performance, like Margam performance, I would, I was very, I was terrified, yes, but I was also a dedicated student. I would practice the entire Margam twice a day, and we had only cassettes at that time. So we would, finally the cassettes would stop playing at that. Till that point, I used to rehearse to the point that I can do those items even today. You know, that was, yeah. So once you decide that this is where your life is going to be, or you need to be in this, then you give it your 100%. So that's been my formative years.
Anna, how important is it to have a guru's guidance in your dancing career?
It is a blessing to be under the guidance of a guru, whether in dance or in life, right? Always. For the simple reason, um, even when you start doing things on your own, to get a validation, an unbiased opinion, or like to get criticism, even a positive criticism, it's always the guru who looks at you and gives you um, the final word to say. So it is always, because as we all know, that we don't know everything, right? We are always learning, we are always student. Irrespective of the number of years that you've been practicing this art form, we still learn every time, every class that you go, you take, or you perform, every time you go on stage, you learn something new. So it's always nice to be with a guru, not just hopping gurus. Um, and as far as the choreography is concerned, I don't remember the uh, one thing that I remember is, I think I was in 10th grade, and the first song in my memory is Jagam Pugarum Punya Kadai Ramanin Kadai. I did this for Tiruvishanallur Sridharayaval's that Ganga Utsavam that happens every year, and this was right before my board exams, and the following day was math, and that I insisted that I would perform and uh, do the exam following day. So if I remember correct, that was my first um, choreography. But I think I started doing serious choreography only after my graduation, which is like post 1995 or so.
Recently, there has been more noise on incorporating AI and technology in dance performances. But over a decade back, I remember a production of Parashaha, Aranganin Padayil, where we had used and incorporated LED screens along with the dance production, which I was also a part of. Anna, do you think it is necessary that we put forth our work properly to people? Do you find any lacunae in that aspect?
Using technology is okay, but to what extent is my uh, worry? Because to go with the flow, to make people understand, because it's a fast world, people don't have patience, people don't have that attention span like before. So you got to communicate like really quickly and effectively. So to enhance, or to like sort of get the message across a bit more clearly, you can definitely use certain things. But as I said, to what extent is a question mark. And like when we started, or like, our gurus, when they performed, they were performing probably in temples and small prosceniums where they had minimum lights, and still people were appreciative of it. And then there was a time when we started performing, we started using sophisticated lights, but not specifically light design, so to say. That was the next level. So we only like um, entertain all these things. I don't think the audience expect anything and come. When they come, they want to watch a good performance, right? That can be done very easily if you have conceived the idea, worked properly, and if the thought process is good, if the choreography is good, you had enough time to practice and prepare for the show, and you do it with conviction and integrity, I really don't think you need these paraphernalia. Can use, but effectively and to a minimal, I would say.
Talking about choreography, Saka, how do you approach a Varnam? And how do you plan out the stories that you are going to depict in a Varnam? Varnam being the main piece of any dance repertoire.
When we perform together, those Varnams are mostly choreographed jointly because both our perspectives have to come in. So I think personally, when I choose, I look at the lyric, I study the lyric, I understand the meaning, the layers, the characterization should be. That is my first step. And then I think step 2, I would work on the rhythm portions. And then like the jatis and the swarams. Normally we get to the abhinaya part to the very last. So that's my approach in choreographing a Varnam.
Akka, you are trained in Mohiniyattam and Bharatanatyam equally. Is it necessary for a dancer to have a basic idea of the different classical art forms so that we can incorporate the beauty of each other in our own performing style?
I think it's very subjective. See, there are people who enjoy doing multiple styles, and there are people who prefer to stick to one style. But it is very wrong to say that it is wrong to practice more than one style. The reason I'm saying this is there is one very big name, very senior guru who actually criticized the fact that I practice 2 different and very diverse styles. It's not true, because once you know that your body can switch between the 2 styles without affecting the purity, without compromising on the traditional grammar that you have learned, it is absolutely fine. And yes, it does help you as an artist. The sensibilities of both these art forms, it widens your thought process and also the body. So you say I'm graceful. I would say part of my grace is attributed to the fact that Mohiniyattam is part of my career. I'm a practitioner. So that grace element is there. But I know where to draw the line. You should know if you're practicing more than one style.
In your recent production, Samavesha, there has been a confluence of 2 different dance forms, Bharatanatyam and Mohiniyattam, and also gender reversal. How did you approach it? Can you give us some insights on your choreographic workflow?
So Samavesha happened as a continuum of 2, or as a branching out of 2 solo productions. Srikanth had done Arjuna as part of the Natyarangam's Thematic festival. And years later, Brihannala was a small part in that production, Arjuna. Years later, I did Amba Shikandi in Mohiniyattam as a solo work. And then at one point, we sort of understood that both these characters have a lot in common. 1, they're both from Mahabharata. 2, they're both undergoing conflict, both physical, mental, as part of this, gender and all that. So we thought, why not club these 2 and make a bigger production? So that's how we sort of conceptualized Samavesha. And so Samavesha has had 2 tours internationally and toured quite a lot within India.
Anna, you have graced many stages across the globe, and I'm sure you would have met different types of audiences and sets of audiences. How important is it for an artist to create his or her own niche and an audience for themselves?
It is a visual art. You need to have an audience and you need to create an audience. It is very important. Yes, as you mentioned, like different places have different type of audiences. You don't have to necessarily uh, dilute your art form to sort of please them or anything, but also at the same time, but at the same time, you need to understand that they are there to watch a good performance. So you have to understand the occasion and act accordingly. So it is very important to create your own audience because, like, especially in today's time and age, where people hesitate to get out of their house to come and watch a dance performance unless you have your own uh, audience who look forward to watching you again and again, it's going to be more difficult. So I think it is very important to create your own audience as a dancer, even as an organization. I think you have to have, like, you keep giving good performances. Obviously, the people are going to notice, and then, like, they're going to register, and you're going to get more members, and people are going to come and watch more shows, right? I think it is very important.
Over the years, do you think the amount and the quality of audiences are diminishing from the main performance arena with the social media intake in our lives?
Diminishing audience or dwindling audience is there because of the reason, a simple reason. There are, like, the performance number has gone up drastically, right? A few years pre-COVID, I read somewhere that on an average of 4,000 to 5,000 performances happen during the month of Margari, or, like, say, like, in 4 to 6 weeks time, which is a lot. Even if I want to go and attend a few performances, like, it is difficult, right? Everything happens at the same time. Like, all the legends perform, like, they say, like, a main slot, which is, like, say, 7 p.m. All the legends are dancing, like, at 7 p.m. Whom do you, like, you just have to pick and choose, and then, like, so everyone has only, like, so much time to devote, even as a dancer, as an artist, plus my own, like, schedule, my practice, my rehearsals with the musicians, and then preparing for my shows. Amidst all this, I want to go and watch a performance. So it is becoming, like, more and more difficult, especially in the dance field, I would say. I still, like, both of us love to go for music concerts during Margari. So whenever we are in Chennai, we attend a lot more Carnatic kacheris than dance performances. There you see, even if it is an upcoming artist or, like an established artist, you get a good number of audience. More than half the hall is full. But in dance, it's not the same. I wonder why. I think, like, that should be another topic. I think, like, probably like a open discussion with in one of these seminars.
Akka, talking about social media platforms, how do you think is going to be the survival of a much more slow-paced dance forms like Mohiniyattam, Kathakali, or Krishnatangali, like that?
Let's divide time as pre-COVID and post-COVID. Today, everything is like that. Everything is being addressed like that. During COVID, these art forms, as you say, especially Kathakali, it is a very expensive art form, to be performed somewhere, because live percussion, the costumes are elaborate, artist fee, musicians fee. So everything came to a standstill. But there were few organizations, especially in Kerala and some abroad, who actually took the initiative because of their intense love for the art form. To keep them going, they organized performances in closed spaces which were video recorded and streamed. So that was COVID. Now, post-COVID, we have a feeling that audiences may not come. But no, that is wrong. After 22, when the prosceniums opened partially, we saw in 23 audiences actually coming back to the auditoriums to watch, because what you see live is a far cry from what you get on the small screen. What you experience in a live concert can never be matched on a screen. So people who actually love the art form and who want to watch it live, experience the magic, will definitely come back. So I don't think these art forms are in peril at all.
Akka, I think over the years, there would have been many incidences that would have tested your patience. How did you overcome all that? Or any incident that you could share with us which actually gave your life a very beautiful turnaround?
Testing times are always there, yes. It's like when you love doing what you're doing. So that's where we differ a lot, because I sometimes dance only for myself. I have that habit. Even on stage, it doesn't bother me whether people are watching. Sometimes I just do certain things for my sake. So I think that's what keeps me going. Yeah, but there have been incidents where, especially after marriage, and I relocated from Kerala to Chennai, and the dance scene was very new for me, but I was very, very excited about being here. But all that dampened when, I had to face certain situations where I saw, of course, I'm his wife and I'm his student, and I'm much, much junior to Srikanth in experience. I totally admit that. Even today, I'm his student. So, but there were times when people actually called us up for performances, and then they say, no, we want only Srikanth. So that's one. Then second, I know I've been, sort of ridiculed for the color of my skin. So I think you need to be fair. That's a big thing sorry to say, but that's the reality in the sabas in Chennai. I've seen that, I've experienced that. So in the initial years, yes, I had gone through that kind of discrimination. I'm open to say it anywhere. It's a reality, but which I think should not be there. So these were the those were the points where I was really upset. But then later, the same people started coming and watching our programs. So then I thought, your hard work will pay at some point. But the stigmas, they need to be removed. I think that's very important.
Anna, you have been part of Bhagavata Mela for so many years and have been consistently performing. How important is it to have Bharatanatyam or any other art form steeped in Bhakti Marga? Is it necessary or can we deviate a bit?
I belong to Bhagavad Mela and family, like I was born and raised. My father, late M.R. Krishnamurti, was part of this big tradition. Bhagavad Mela, for several years, he was a treasurer and he was a small-time actor. So I was introduced to Bhagavad Mela as early as I was 5 or 6 years old. And till date, I've been a part of this tradition. Yes, it is steeped in bhakti. It's a ritualistic art form performed mainly in the village Melator during Narasimha Jayanti, the month of May. Of course, we do perform outside Melator, but not much. It's more a prayer or an offering than a performance. Definitely not an entertainment. So the same cannot be expected in a Bharatanatyam. Of course, the origin of Bharatanatyam is again from temple and all that. Yes, we understand, but we at present not performing in temples, right? Most of the time we are performing on stage and to a wider audience. So still you have to keep that spiritual element of dance and have that offering, that attitude. I think it is very important, but it is completely different because you dance to the Lord, like literally, like you see, like in front of the temple you perform, and there's a puja happens before, happens after, there's a procession, and you are not considered as artists you're considered as gods or demigods in Melatour. It's not the same here. The hype and all, like the it's the atmosphere is very different here. But I think if we can, we should to some extent keep the spiritual element in dance, and it's possible in Bharatanatyam.
Can you explain about the social themes that you have choreographed and performed? And beyond social themes, what do you think about the abstract themes which are coming up?
Socially relevant topics we have done quite a few. One of which is Snehayagam, an ode to Mother Earth. It's like it's about nature and about deforestation and
Basically,
the
the idea is
downfall of
environmental conservation.
right. So we've done that, and we've done a smaller production on AIDS, and we've done a production based on Genesis, which wouldn't fall under the socio thing, but more of an abstract theme based on Old Testament and the 6 days of creation. So we've done that. It is important to do socially relevant subjects, including Samavesha, which is very happening thing, which everybody talks about. People are open to talk about, to accept trans people, and so we've done all this. My only thing with abstract theme or production is like this has been my policy, I would say. Every time I take up something abstract, the presentation is very simple and straightforward. I don't like to confuse my audience. If the subject is very simple, like Ramayanam or Mahabharatam, which everybody knows, you can bring in novelty in presentation or make it a little complex, something different, give it a different perspective. Like try out new things, because the subject is known, the story is known to public. But when you're doing something abstract, which is not that they can relate to easily, the presentation has to help them achieve that and not confuse, and they shouldn't go back with a feeling that they got nothing, or like everything went above their heads, right? So it's as simple as that.
Akka, can you detail about the struggles that your mother had faced in establishing the dance school in Kozhikode? Do you feel the younger generations do not have an idea of all the struggles that the gurus faced previously in establishing themselves and to bring Bharatanatyam to a point where it is? Do you think they are spending too much time promoting themselves and the rich culture is not being put forth properly?
My mother, she finished her studies in Kalamandalam in 1964. So it might seem like ancient. Yes, it was a big struggle for her because one, she came from a very poor family, a very orthodox Brahmin family, where a girl going out to learn dance was unthinkable. But my grandfather desperately wanted her to learn dance. And when she finished her studies, she had to teach to survive. And taking classes was tough because she had to go to people's houses to teach. And one of her brothers would accompany her because they couldn't send her alone. And having to fend for a family of 9 children, gradually she became the sole breadwinner. Everything revolved around her work. She supported the family, but it was very, very tough. And I sometimes wonder how a woman could have had that kind of energy at that age to, and I think the struggle went on even after her marriage to my father. She would drop me off after I was born at my grandparents', and then she would go on, take classes. It was years later that she had a place of her own where, so the struggle was very, very big. And as far as students not being thankful enough, I don't know, I think it's more the responsibility of the parents to make them understand what they're getting, the value of what they're getting. Not only the parents, also the teachers, the gurus. They have to make them understand the value of the art form that they're getting. And as far as community engagement, was that okay? Community engagement with artists is a very important and relevant topic today. So I've been writing about this, I've been talking to people about this. There are a set of artists who use their art for transformational activities within the community. So we have so many examples. We have Ambika Kameshwar working with Rasa, we have Sangeeta and her Katradi method. So there are so many of them who train students who are either marginalized or who have been victimized or who are differently abled, and using art as a tool, give them an identity and make them a part of mainstream society in some way. Sometimes it could be a livelihood for some of them. Sometimes it could just be giving them a positive take on life, making them more confident human beings. So as artists, I always feel it should not just be about the self. Actually, the word you said is very important. Going on stage and just projecting yourself is something I really am terrified of. When I see youngsters dance like that, I'm scared, because that is something we need to counter, and we need to make them understand that art is above the artist. You are not above the art. That realization must come. Along with that must come a commitment to society. So you needn't be doing these transformational activities, like you needn't be involved in these activities, but you can always do some hand holding. You can help out, or through your own work, you can contribute to such causes, which will help creating a better society.
Anna, do you think the vocabulary of Bharatanatyam is changing? And we youngsters are being pushed against the wall, adapt or perish. What advice do you have for us?
Change is inevitable for sure. So you have to adapt yourself and go with the flow for sure. So what our gurus used to perform, or the way they presented or planned their performance, is not the same as what I would do, or like what you would probably like do. And there are like the next generation dancers who come up with some amazing ideas in the, not just with the themes, even in presentation. So is change is okay. I think is acceptable as long as it's well within the boundaries of Bharatanatyam.
Do you think the representation of the South artists are very less in the North? And we have spent so much time and energy and whole of our lives here and not being expressed in a positive manner up north.
There is always this north-south divide people talk about as artists. Like all the time this debate is happening. But my question is, why do you want to go and perform in the north, or why should the North Indian artists come and perform here? Like this, of course, like we do go perform. It may not be like, the number of shows may be like 1/10 of what we would probably do here. It's the same when it comes to like North Indian artists as well, right? They're not performing day in and day out here. Also, I feel like, it's better and it's nicer to establish oneself in one's area. Like suppose if I belong to Tamil Nadu or like Kerala or Karnataka, I like to be known here. I like to be popular here and famous here and do more shows and like want more recognition from the South. It's nice to go and perform and in the North or any other place for that matter. But I think like if we concentrate on our area and try to like, perform or like achieve more or teach and create more students, I think it's a great achievement. Then worrying about this, because this is going to be there. This has been there and it is still prevalent, I would say. It's a little better, but I don't think that should come in the way at all.
Akka, how was your experience working on the anthology of the stories written by your father? And how much do you think media can influence in putting forth the positive themes?
I should say this happened quite by chance. During COVID, I wanted to try and do, I was inspired watching stories of Rabindranath Tagore on one of these streaming platforms, and I wanted to do something like that. It started off as a small idea, and it suddenly grew and became so big. So it was a huge learning experience for me from day one till the release. Huge learning experience. And to answer your other question, how can media be used to convey? I think media is the most important, or I would say the most popular medium to convey messages.
And powerful medium.
Yeah, it's also very powerful, much more than you can imagine. Because every second that you are on media, every word that you talk on media is being scrutinized, analyzed, and watched by millions. That's the kind of reach internet has given us. So media is the most powerful medium. There's no doubt about it. So when you talk, when you give messages, you should have that in mind.
Akka, let's talk about money. Being a dancer yourself, apart from taking classes, what else can be a source of income for dancers? Do you think it is very difficult to maintain a proper lifestyle with the amount of money that we make as a full-time artist?
I think we should all learn certain aspects of how to manage your finances, especially in these times when costs are just going up and the income from performances are not going up. So I always feel that everybody is hiking their rates, but as dancers, we are still being paid what we were probably paid 10 years ago or 5 years ago. There is no, periodical revision of our fee.
Do we get paid when we perform?
I would not, at least in the places where we get paid. There are still places where people ask us to come and perform for free. Yeah, so we need to have an understanding, especially youngsters. Apart from teaching, there are several ways in which you can generate income. So some people are good at vlogging, they make money through that. But there are other areas. You need to find where your strengths lie. Or if you have a parallel profession, or if you have some other passion that you can gradually convert into something that will bring in income. If you are good at designing clothes, why not you have something related to dance, that making dance costumes? It might require additional effort and maybe a little investment, but you have to understand where your strengths lie, where your passions are, and then accordingly find ways where you can actually make. Some people are good at writing. So writing is it's a very private thing, but if you are able to write regularly for some e-magazines or whatever, print magazines, that generates some income. So I think it's very important that we, are able to sustain ourselves.
Do you think we as dancers are responsible for creating art connoisseurs so that this art form can keep growing and spreading?
Definitely, it's very, very important that we have art connoisseurs, funding performances, and also tap into the, CSR aspects of companies who can actually make a huge difference in the artistic community. So CSR funding is huge for a lot of public limited companies as well as private companies. Many of us are not aware of that. So that's an area that needs to be tapped. apart from bringing in art connoisseurs to support performances.
Anna, you have been teaching for so many years. How does your teaching pedagogy looks like?
I don't have anything different. But what I do in my school is, because I'm also a student of Dr. Padma Subramaniam, I start with Angas, Upangas, Vedas, and all that stuff, apart from the Adavas. Simultaneously, they'll be learning the Vedas and Devin Yogas and all that. Once they complete the Adavas, when we move on with the items, I start teaching them parallelly the Bhumicharis and Akashcharis. So, sort of like I combine both Bharatanatyam and Natyam wherever necessary. This is not that I strictly follow to all of my students. Those who show some promise in Bharatanatyam, those of who I feel can take this together, like simultaneously, I teach both. Otherwise, it's like regular any other Bharatanatyam school, adavals to items to.
I'm putting this question across to you because you being a male dancer, has any of your student questioned the Nayaka exposition in Bharatanatyam? Do you think that the youngsters are not connecting to the poets and Vagyakaras of yesteryears? If so, what would be your reply? And how do you steer them in a proper path? Is it necessary for a teacher to explain to the student the beautiful relationship of a Jivatma and Paramatma? Do you think if this was the question, will we have adapted Andal's poetry into Natyam or even Jayadeva's Ashtapati?
Yes, I do have a few male students, and they, one or two of them, find it very difficult to do Shringaram, though they are in their 20s or early 20s. They find it little difficult to do. It is not a Nayika based item, even with, like, Krishna showing love towards Radha, or um, it could be a Nayaka to Nayika. Still, they find it difficult. They have that inhibition. They're not quite comfortable, whereas Bhakti comes naturally to them. But I think that the line is very blurred now. Before, it used to be like, see, when I started learning, it wasn't a question at all. We were all taught only like Nayaka based items. There was no concept of like Ananda Natamaduvartile and all that is like Nataraja thing. That is okay. But then there wasn't when we do a padam, I don't think my guru ever thought about teaching me something like Tirtha Karayanile or and a hero oriented padam or anything. No, never. Not even in an Ashtrapati. He would, teach me like Savirahe and all. It wasn't like, this was unheard of to say. And then when we were performing solos, like I would say late 90s, early 2000, there was this uproar of oh no, male dancers should not do Naika based items in their performances, and it has to be only either bhakti or hero oriented. But now I think we are at a stage where this is all gone. It's all like very blurred. Anybody can do anything as long as you're able to do it convincingly. You shouldn't do it, shouldn't become a mockery kind of a thing. If you're doing Chitika Vesite, you have to be Krishna, and then you have to have that swag about your thing. But when you're doing like Paruna Namata, you have to have that grace and that poise of that Naika and not fake it.
Akka, how important is it to maintain certain dignity and decorum on stage? While you portray certain characters and Shringaram, do you think it comes out of experience? And is it necessary for a teacher to explain these things to the students?
I think as a teacher, yes, I would definitely have to explain, especially if the student is not as experienced. In the early stages, you have to explain. And yes, on stage, it is important to maintain a certain dignity in whatever you're portraying.
Thank you so much, Ananda, for accepting to this and staying here with me for all these experiences was really amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting us.
Pleasure.